Hello YouTube. Making some videos. I'm going to make my second attempt at a saltwater aquarium. My first attempt turned into a complete and utter disaster. This video may not be a whole lot to look at. The first part I'm going to go through and tell you what happened to my first attempt at the saltwater and a number of things why I think it may have happened, a lot of which was wrong information. And then we'll take a look at a few of the goodies I've got here to start in on my second attempt. And then videos in the future, we'll see the aquarium getting all put together and, eventually, hopefully, a very successful aquarium. The first part here, what happened? My wife and I had been into freshwater aquariums off and on for years and years. Always had, good luck with them, never had any problems we couldn't fix. And a few years ago we decided it was time to make the jump to saltwater. Unfortunately, it seems like our local fish store didn't quite know what they were talking about. For the first year we had our aquarium, it was great. We had no problems, crystal clear water, everything was beautiful. And after about a year, the hair algae came. And it grew and it grew. And I spent forever fighting it. When we got our aquarium, we asked about the water. We lived out in the country, had well water. And they told us, oh, that would be great. It's already got all those minerals and everything in it. The fish will love it. And that place we lived in, 8-9 years, something like that. And for about the first 6-7 years, the well water was great, tasted good and everything. But about the last 2 years we lived there, something was going on with changed in the water. When you turn a faucet on, the water, it would stink for about the first 5 seconds that it ran, and then it'd be fine. But we had never had that problem for, the first 6-7 years we lived there. And then all of a sudden it just showed up one day. And looking back, I'm thinking that whatever changed with our water, I think it was pretty close to coinciding with when the hair algae started. So that could very well be what the problem was. Just something got into our water supply that all of a sudden just wasn't doing well in the aquarium. But they never told us how important RODI water was. They said that well water would be just great. And if that was the problem, if I had learned a little more before starting out with that tank, I may have completely avoided it. Other issues were the filtration system. They asked if we were interested in a sump, and that just kind of bothered me. I didn't know anything about the sumps, and all I saw was a great big tank of water on top and a little bitty container down in the bottom that was open. And I've seen accidental siphons happen in my life, and I just pictured this 90 gallons of water down on the floor. And they never tried to explain it to me or how they worked or anything. They said, no problem, you just need a canister filter. Which, doing my research here now on a lot on YouTube before starting my second attempt at the saltwater, every time I bring up something to do with saltwater and a canister filter, I keep hearing that canister filters were made for freshwater. They work good for freshwater. They can be used for freshwater, but never use them in a saltwater tank. Now, I've also seen videos on YouTube where they work fine, but I'm thinking that probably didn't help me any when I started having problems. And when we were talking about filtration, I had, coming from the freshwater world, I'd said, I just figured it'd be the hang on the back charcoal one like we had always used all those years. And my wife and I were told by them that you couldn't do that because the charcoal would remove all the beneficial bacteria from the water. So you should never, ever, for any reason, ever use charcoal in a saltwater aquarium. Again, since I started doing my research again here, have found out that most people say that's an extremely important thing to have in your filtration system. Again, I don't know that that caused the hair algae, but as I was battling it, my freshwater experience kept telling me charcoal would either cure the problem or at least improve the problem. But then, they told us that never, ever, for any reason, don't ever put it in your filter system. So I think that hindered the problems. So there are a number of issues like that. And when we decided to do Saltwater 2.0 here, I went out looking on YouTube, and I found newyorksteelo, and I've chosen him to be my online mentor for how to do an aquarium. So we're going to try to copy him as much as possible to see if we can just avoid problems, really, I think he's got a lot of great videos that have really taught me a lot, and he's got the proof right there to show how well it works for him. So that's the road we're heading down. There was one other thing when I was battling the algae problems, that if newyorksteelo ever watches this, I'll probably hear his groan all the way here in Minnesota. I found, I think it was a forum posting where a guy was explaining how he cured his hair algae problem. And he had gone into detail about, he had this stuff down in his substrate, and you got to stir the substrate every time you do a water change. There's all this stuff that gets trapped in it, and if you don't stir it, it becomes so toxic, and you'll have hair algae everywhere. And at the time, I was desperate, and that sounded like it made good sense to me. And when I had set up the tank, I knew nothing about a deep sand bed at the time. I just kind of eyeballed the tank and bought some sand and put it in, and I probably had about 3.5 inches of sand in it. So don't know if that's technically a deep sand bed, but it's close. But I thought, well, that makes sense. You get all that stuff down in that sand, so I better stir it. And it didn't cure the problem, and seemed like every time I did that, it just made things worse. And if you watch newyorksteelo's videos on deep sand beds, you never touch the sand bed. So hopefully we can avoid some of these problems now that I've learned a little more, and I have my online mentor who's showing me not just how to do it, but why you do it that way. So my wife and I decided we were going to give this another try. What you're looking at there is our old aquarium stand, which neither one of us were ever really a big fan of. And as I started buying things to put this together, I ran into a few issues with it. It's a little on the short side. So now with the sump in there, there's not a whole lot of room here. It's between the sump and the top here, and definitely the way these doors are set up, once the aquarium's on, if you need to get to the sides anywhere, it's going to be almost impossible to do anything. So I hit the wife up with the idea of a new aquarium stand, which she was surprisingly thinking that was a good idea to spend money on, because she wanted one with a wood canopy top. So the new stand is supposed to be here tomorrow. So I will soon be working on putting everything in together. You got my new sump in there and the skimmer. That'll all transfer over. Over here I got a few other goodies going on here. All pretty much stuff to try to copy newyorksteelo's version of an aquarium. I started out, I was originally going to just try to buy what I really needed and keep costs down. But as I started buying things, I decided to heck with it. I was going to pull out all the stops, and spent my bonus check, and even added a little to a credit card. I got a couple things I'm still waiting on. I got some LED lights from Apollo Reef coming. They're supposed to be here Thursday. We've got another MP40 that from Vortec MP40 coming. That'll be here Friday. Bought the upgrade to change my MP20 into an MP40. Decided to go with an Apex system, which was a toy for me. But I think with everything I got going on, it's going to be really handy. So I'm really looking forward to how that's going to work out. I got some float switches there. Bought the labeler so I can get everything labeled out nicely. All in all, I think it's going to go a lot better this time. Going to add in a Phosban reactor down on the sump. Got the Miracle Mud. And got the 160 pounds of sand here waiting to go. So probably by this Saturday I'll be putting the aquarium together and put up an update every so often so you can see how everything's going. And hopefully Saltwater 2.0 will be a much better experience. I had fought that hair algae on the first one. It was well over a year, and it was just a losing battle. And finally I got a new job. We were going to have to move, and we just gave up on it. Let the algae, I'm surprised the last couple fish that survived didn't have algae growing on them. And drained the tank, and it's been sitting back in my office closet for a good year now. And we're getting ready to do it again. One good thing I did learn: if you're having problems with your pH, this stuff is fantastic. When I started having all these algae problems, my pH just plummeted. There were days I was lucky to have a 7.0, and I tried that liquid stuff. You add so much in per gallon, and check it the next day. And I finally quit buying it because I couldn't afford to keep buying it. I was putting so much in, and it was doing absolutely nothing. I seen this stuff on Dr. Foster's and Smith, and it talked about how this C-Lab number 14, it not just works with the alkalinity, but it replaces all kinds of different trace elements that affect your pH. I did one treatment with this stuff, and it was rock solid 8.3 for a really long time. And as soon as I noticed it was starting to drop, I did another treatment, and that held for a real long time. They've got, I think it's C-Lab number 28. They're actually cubes you can put in your sump or in your tank behind your rocks, where it will just, as the water needs the stuff, it'll dissolve those cubes. And for low pH problems, this stuff is amazing. So at least I learned one good thing out of it. Give you an update again once everything else shows up and I start putting things together, and we'll go from there.